wants to teach me and like that I'll get something from it. And so I love
You're talking.
even though it's literally been nothing but doesn't like
Dean Brown and
This has actually been like a really good class. So
Becca, are you in Seattle?
Oh, he's newer, so.
Leah's gonna be coming back.
I'm sure.
Play on the table again.
That's how you get views.
I'm calling this meeting to order at 4:01 p.m. and then we're gonna start with a land recognition statement. Student government acknowledges that we live, work, and learn in the homeland of the Dakota people, whose language frames our institution's name, Minnesota State University, Mankato. So now I'll go into first roll call. Senator Leone.
Present.
Senator Franson.
Present.
Senator Miucci. Senator Pringnance is on Zoom. Senator Emke is also on Zoom. Senator Ponthe. Senator Bugney.
Present.
Senator Reyes.
Here.
Senator Maega.
Here.
Senator Thapa. I think it's showing on Zoom. Senator Mpanga. Senator Lee. Will be coming. Senator Dietrich.
Here.
Senator Smith is also on Zoom. Senator Green. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Moore.
Here.
Senator Maba. Senator Knauer.
Here.
Senator Karki. Senator Livingston.
Here.
Senator Riggle.
Here.
Senator Colleran.
Present.
Senator Zelmer.
Present.
Senator Ide.
Present.
Senator Hillstead is on his way. Senator Isaac. I know he's here. I'm here, President Nurala,
Present.
and Vice President Jay is here on Zoom. So we do have quorum. So moving on with our agenda, is there any amendments to our agenda?
Motion.
Yes.
For the sake of time and like the crunched schedule today, I motion that we move open forum to the end of the agenda.
Second.
There's a second. Is there any dissent to that motion? Alrighty, seeing none, I'll move open forum to the end. Alrighty, any other amendments to our agenda? Alrighty, seeing none, is there any dissent to the now amended agenda? Alrighty, seeing none, this is our approved agenda. So then we'll go straight into our Dean of the Day, and we actually do have Dr. Aaron Budge. We just had some little communication that we had to deal with before. We just want to make sure he wanted to come back even though he was here a few weeks ago. So that's why he's not on the agenda, but he's here today with us.
Mic probably. Or is the mic, the audio, room audio working? I will be very quick. President Nurala warned me that timeline is very short. I was here just a couple of weeks ago back on behalf of Dr. Marincek, or Dean Marincek, but here officially, I guess, representing the School of Ag. Very briefly, to Senator Dietrich's comment last time as far as getting out to students, I actually came back just a couple hours ago from spending the day at Fairmont High School, where they had 9 different high schools represented for their career fair. So ongoing efforts to increase the agricultural opportunities for our regional students. So, but what I did want to share with this group is just as the end of the semester and the end of the academic year is upon us, I know there are a lot of things going around, both student level, faculty level, university-wide. I encourage you to take a minute, think about 1 or 2 people that have really impacted you positively during the year. Send them a quick note and just say thank you, because you know as well as I do, there are a lot of them that are really struggling with various things at this point. Take a second, tell them that you appreciate what they've done to help you out, especially for those that are graduating, but for any of you that are coming back in the fall. Just take a second, let them know that you're thinking about what they're doing, that you realize that they're going through some challenging times, and that you appreciate all that they're doing. So that's all I wanted to share. Just take that to heart, take a minute, think about who's impacted you, and let them know that you appreciate it. I would stand for any questions, but also know that time is short. So if anybody has anything, feel free to grab me afterwards or send me a note.
Perfect. Sounds
Thank
good.
you all.
Thank you. Alrighty, and then we do have one presentation, and that is, just kidding. Before we get to Anne, Vice President Jay is going to make a little announcement real quick.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to be presenting the 2025-26 student government election results for both the candidate race and for the proposed referendums and constitutional amendments. So, starting with the president and vice presidential position, congratulations to Andrew Colleran as the new president and Sneha Kaffel as the vice president. I'm so sorry if I get some of these names wrong. With Empowered Mavericks with a vote of 567. Okay, we'll move through these quickly. Zuhei Leon for Senator of College of Allied Health and Nursing. Thank you to whoever pulled that up. For Senators of College of Business, we have Ishmeet Narula and Emily Dietrich, both with Empowered Mavericks. For Senator of College of Education, we have Ashton Morris, who is with Empowered Mavericks. For Senators for College of Humanities and Social Sciences, we have Melissa Miucci, Chase Hibber, and Yorahei Kebede. For Senator of College of Science, Engineering, and Technology, we have Edward Wynn and Macy Anderson. For Senator of College of Graduate Studies, we have Manny Reyes and Amal. Amal, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name out of respect for you. Senator for At-Large, we have Megan Cumming and Alexis Smith. For Senator for Off-Campus Residents, we have Emily Hodge, Fatima Obradhova, Jack Knauer, Bob Johnson, Chris Stitch, Reese Riggle, Charles Hillstead, and Matthew Sohn. For Senator for Residential Life, we have Trenton Ide, and pending acceptance for write-in, Kevin Geppert. Moving on to the fee referenda, moving on to commissions and boards. For Athletic Fee Advisory Commission, Micah Allen. For Centennial Student Union Board, we have Micah Allen and Say Kurtana. For Newspaper Board, we have Micah Allen. For Student Allocations Committee, we have Sai Kurtana, Trenton Ide, and Priya Wills. For Student Health Services Fee Advisory Committee, we have Micah Allen. And now moving on to referendums. The student activity fee approved recommended increase of 6.2% passed with 600 votes. The intercollegiate athletics fee approval recommended increase of 5% passed with 635 votes. The first constitutional change for newspaper board to be named to Media Affairs Board and other related changes passed with 359 votes. The second constitutional change, which will further specify and limit allowable sanctions from the Commission on Ethics and Standards, passed with 292 votes for yes. And the third constitutional change that will specify that Commission on Ethics and Standards may recommend removal from office and submit recall petition, passed with 340 votes for yes. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer them. Congratulations to everyone. Yeah, that's what I've got.
Thank you, BBJ. So moving into our next presentation, we do have our VP for Finance and Facilities, Ann Gillespie here to present on the FY26 university tuition and budget updates.
Can everyone hear me okay? Let's see if we can get this thing on. Thank you. All right. President Narala, Student Senate, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. And this may not be working very well. As you know, I think in listening to some of the dialogue around how you have done such a great job working on your budgets, you understand that we are dealing with some significantly challenging headwinds when it comes to financial planning and budgeting. So I did ask, I thought it would be helpful to come and talk to you a little bit about where we're at from an institutional standpoint. And also, we have been in a tuition freeze for quite a few years, probably before any of you started. We haven't done a tuition increase at our undergraduate level for quite some time. So I did want to share with you a tuition strategy that we are proposing to get any final feedback before we finalize this and present this to the president and to the board of directors. As you know, from a cycle standpoint, we won't have final feedback on our tuition and fees until June. And once the board approves that, then communication will go out. So we have a really short timeline between when those decisions are made and when students come back in the fall. So I wanted to make sure to share that information with you. And so I've got a couple things. So the presentation slide, first I want to just give you a quick budget update. The university has receives about half of their funding, or about a third of their funding, from state appropriations. We are predominantly reliant on tuition. So from a system standpoint, the economic forecast came out from the state of Minnesota, and we are actually going to be receiving less funding than we received this year. And it's about 3.5% or 22 million. Once that funding is received from the system office, the MnState system, which supports not only the University of Minnesota here in Mankato, but all of the 2-year and 4-year institutions as part of our system, it goes through an allocation model. So we anticipate that our state funding will actually decrease this year. And it puts us in a really challenging situation because we are behind in the inflationary pressures of our operating budget. And we expect a base allocation to be reduced. And so that puts pressure on us to look at what is needed from a tuition standpoint. And so that's kind of the backstory. To let you know that through legislation, the university has requested additional funding to help cover inflation. We have asked for additional funding. Mankato receives the least amount of funding per student from the state. And we feel that there's some equity opportunity there. So we are asking for additional funding, but knowing that right now that the governor's report has indicated there will be no additional funding, we will plan accordingly. So from a Mankato standpoint, we were at a structural deficit coming into this biennium. And when we look at the inflationary pressures, we are predominantly behind in state funding because we have increased our costs more than our revenues. Tuition freeze has allotted for affordability for students, and we are very much advocating for that, but it needs to be funded. And the challenge for us is that we have been underfunded for tuition freezes, with our additional expectation that we'll receive less funding. And we're having some shortfall in our new student first years coming in, and we're estimating some reduction in revenue. We had our largest year ever last year. And that was because we had done some additional investment in scholarships, and we didn't have the same state funding this year, so we didn't invest as much. We're estimating this, and we don't know what the impact will be based on some of what's going on at a federal level. And so we are really facing a pretty significant deficit. About $18 to $19 million from our general funds is where we are estimating as of this month. We do not want, nor do we feel this should all fall on the students' shoulders. However, 2/3 of our revenue does come from tuition revenue. 1/3 comes from the state. So based on this tuition model that we'll talk about today and ask for feedback, we anticipate that revenue would cover about half of our deficit. Okay. So the tuition strategies that we are proposing are twofold. Want to go ahead? First, I'm just going to talk about the graduate tuition because we have maintained increases on our graduate programs each year in line with what is market, which means we look at our competitive analysis, what we charge other schools in our system, and really look at our in-state and out-of-state and how it compares to other schools. So we are proposing this year a 3.4% increase. Normally, we've been about 4% for graduate programs, but we came down a little because some of what we're looking at is potentially adding some student fees to some of our online-only programs. So we don't want to overburden an increase with a fee increase. So some of these strategies are directly associated with some other strategies that potentially could impact the overall cost to students. Non-resident rates are less competitive and are significantly higher than our Minnesota resident rates. Based on the deans of graduate studies, we are keeping it flat this year. And the dean is going to do a full analysis of the cost of our graduate programs and what we need to do, not only grow those programs, but how to price those programs competitively so that we can bring in students and help them achieve their educational goals. So right now, graduate programs do not cap on fees. They do not have banding. We have far fewer students in the graduate program, and it is not a significant part, of our budget consideration when we look at this deficit. But we are going to evaluate, so next year anticipate some conversation around looking at all of our online programs, trying to get a strategy that is consistent and looking at how some of that might be impacted. Right now, there's a phased approach that's being considered that would add some additional student fees this year and then do a full restructure next year where all students would pay all fees. This initiative came out of some of the questions that students had about why some online students pay fees and others don't. So this is coming full circle, but it does take us time in order to implement and reconfigure how we price and charge our students in our systems. We're also evaluating a tiered system. And what that means is we have, how many of you are graduate students here? So we got some graduate students. So some programs are high cost programs. Engineering, we've got a lot of programs that have maybe differential and added cost in addition to your tuition. It's very confusing. I know for me as the CFO, it's hard to keep track of all of our tuition rates, but we want to simplify it. And we still need to have enough revenue to cover our operating costs. So we're going to be evaluating that and potentially looking at a tiered program where we wouldn't have differential and we would be upfront. Low cost programs, medium cost, high cost. And there's going to be some discussion with you about feedback in terms of what those programs currently are supporting. So from a graduate standpoint, it's pretty straightforward this year, but look for more dialogue next year. On the undergraduate side, this is the majority of our students are undergraduate students. And most of those students do take an average of about 14 credit hours a term. We have had our current banding structure, and what banding means is that between 12 and 18 credits, it's a flat charge. So the more credits you take, the lower the cost per credit. We're looking at potentially changing that to a 13 plus banding. It's very confusing to try to bill, do financial aid, explain, and I don't know that students really look at the cost associated with 0 to 11 credits versus 12 to 18 versus 18 and over. And if you look at some of the other schools, they have truly gone to a more understandable and hopefully something that is valuable in the long run for students. University of Minnesota currently bans at 13 plus. And so basically everything after 13 you would not pay. Because most students take 14 credits and our goal is to get 15 credits to get you graduated in 4 years, out in the workforce and actually achieving and earning versus paying for school. Longer it takes, the more terms you have to pay, and with inflation, that is something that is going to be challenging as we move forward. So the current proposal is to put forth an 8% tuition increase, and that would be a catch-up for inflation in the past. With the 13 plus banding, the impact on students' actual tuition charges would depend on how many credits you take. 1 to 11 would be a 7.99% increase. We do some rounding. 12 credits would only be a 1.3% increase. The new band would be at a higher rate, but it would not have an end. You would have basically unlimited number of credits that you could take within that band. A course has to be approved through your academic advisor and that you can actually be successful in taking that number of courses. And then fees would band at the same level as tuition. So I know that student government has been reviewing whether or not that should be additional funding or whether it should be just spread over more credits. So we certainly are going to support what is recommended out of student government. Give an example for dome fees. So with this banding, it allows us to really look at things from a credit-taking behavior. And one of the feedback that we received in Budget Submeet was to have flexibility for students and have different options that allows different consideration depending on your goals in terms of how quickly you would like to graduate.
So, next step. Right now, the fee structure, and I just heard the resolution will update the information based on what has been approved through student government. But right now, some online students pay all the fees. Some students pay 2 fees. We added an additional tech fee last year. And then some students don't pay any fees. And so what we are proposing for fiscal year 26 is to keep the online tuition at a flat rate because they currently have a higher rate than your face-to-face students. And they would add additional fees that would be approximately the same amount as the tuition increase proposed for undergraduate students. And then next year, to really align and have a pricing structure that would be the same for all online students. All online students would pay all fees, and they would be all charged the same amount, regardless of how we've done that in the past. So I'd like to really pull up the spreadsheet if you can, President Nirala, and we're going to walk through when I know it's from a high level standpoint where we're trying to achieve a budgetary impact with our tuition increase, but this gives you the breakdown in terms of the band and the actual changes per credit hour for each one of the areas. And the first tab is going to be for all of your undergraduate programs. And you can see what's highlighted in yellow is the band that currently exists, 12 to 18. And you can see there's a pretty significant jump between 11 and 12. So once you're in the band, the intention was to get you up to that 15 credit. What we've seen is this band has been in place for quite some time. We haven't had any changes in credit taking behavior. It's been pretty consistent. So when we look at the new band, it does increase the band to 13 credits. And once you're in the band, then it would not increase in cost. But when you look at what that means in terms of an increase, your 12 credit students, who are some of your working adults who really want to take 12 credits, we heard that from some of the feedback we received. It's full time, but it does not have a significant increase on the band. And I think that they would be going on, you would finish in 4 years, you'd have to take additional terms. And so it makes sense that that would be more economical. Those students actually in the band, and taking 15 to 16 credits would be, comparable to what we would want someone to finish in 4 years. Those students that are wanting to take extra majors, adding additional credits for minors, wanting to fill in an area of specialization, we see some of those higher credits coming from those categories. And we used to charge more for that. Now we're putting it in the band and saying for those students, it's not common, but there are a percentage of students that are interested in doing that. We want to make this very simple for students. That's on a per credit basis until you get into the band, and then it would be flat until you finish out your term. So we calculated what that would mean based on credit taking behavior in terms of the average cost per credit. And then we also, President Nirala had asked what the impact would be for international students. So the next tab is international. International students pay 125% of Minnesota resident state tuition. And so this is what the band would look for international students. And then the final band is your non-resident students. And although I didn't have the opportunity to pull some additional data, just to let you know, this is what tuition is charged. Many students this year actually paid less than last year because of grants, scholarship, state funding, the North Star Promise that filled in some of the higher need areas. So when you look at each individual student, it really is individual in terms of the financial impact, and many students might not pay more, but the university would receive more from the tuition. And if grants and scholarships
pay for that difference, then that would be, bringing down the cost, the overall cost of students.
So this is just the tuition side, not the net of what students would pay.
And that's a very individual conversation.
So I sent some information out ahead of time, and I wanted to make sure that I gathered feedback on any additional consideration, questions, or how, if we do get this approved through the president and through the board, how we could implement this in a way that helps students plan effectively to support their needs.
Already open up the floor for questions. Senator Riggle.
All right. First of all, thank you for being here. I really like being informed on this kind of thing. I think increasing the band to 13 plus is a really good idea. That'd be really nice for me as someone who often takes a lot of credits, but I've always been capped at 18, and so I've never been able to take all the classes that I want to take. However, I would like to see a little bit, it doesn't have to be like with this stuff, but like later, a little bit more in depth of how online tuition works, along with like the difference between like online students and specific online students, because like online only, because there's a difference. You have to like apply to be an online student. There's a little bit of confusion there, and I'd like to see like that all explained out, or like, and how your future plans will change that.
Thank you. We'll be asking for feedback because that hasn't been exactly decided yet.
Okay.
Should we put the online students into the band like we do face-to-face students? Should online students they're not currently in the band, they have different credit taking behavior, but an online course versus an online program, and how do we make it so it's seamless, understandable, and makes sense? So we'll be looking for feedback, but I appreciate that is exactly the direction that we need to go, is to have something that is, comprehensive and makes sense.
Yeah, and if you have any questions more towards like the online programming and how that works, President Nurala said he would gladly meet with anyone if they want to talk about the online programming and the fact of that tuition. Senator Mpenga.
Just a point of clarification. So is the new band from 13 to 24?
Pardon me?
Is the new band from 13 to 24 or 13 to 18?
It's 13 plus. So whatever is approved through your academic advisor. So, and again, many students cap at 18 because they don't want to pay more because it significantly increases in cost. So even if you wanted like 19 credits, and that might be something over the, the course of your program, that would make sense. So it would be, there'd be no cap from a financial standpoint. Your academic advisor is going to look at your academic preparation, your course of study, the difficulty of your courses, your maybe, they might advise you and may not approve you to take more, but financially you would not have to take more if you are approved to take additional credits.
And then Senator Rigo, last question.
And then because this will be taking place it'll be approved or discussed or whatever relatively last minute when it comes to the fall 2025, what is your current plans on rolling out information to students so that they are as informed as they can be? Because this could be like a big shock for students if they aren't expecting it.
We are going to do a formal communication, and what we are talking internally, is there anything we can do in terms of outreach as we're registering students, that each time we have our normal cadence of communication, orientations for new students, registration for existing students, that we would add that component of consideration and make sure that our financial aid officers are able to sit down and talk with students about what that individual impact would be.
Yeah, President Nurala.
And I've talked with the editor-in-chief. We're gonna work with the next PR and marketing team to get the word out on our end as well. The reporter is gonna have an article on tomorrow's edition about this, and they're also gonna mention to reach out to Campus Hub for further questions as well. But no, great question, thank you.
Great question.
Any other questions? Alrighty, seeing none, thank you for coming in, Anne.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, moving on in our agenda, so for vacancies, there is one that I would like to announce. So all of our senator vacancies are closed for the 92nd student government. However, since Vice President Jay, aka the Commissioner for Elections Commission, announced the results for next year's student government, the speaker position is now open for applications. You can find the application on Map Central. That is due in 2 weeks, so actually on the 22nd. By noon, so Tuesday, April 22nd by noon. That's a hard deadline, so if you submit it after that, no go. And then the election will take place on April 23rd at 4 p.m. in this room. Well, not at 4 p.m., but sometime during that meeting, which starts at 4 p.m. So, which President Nurala gets to run. So that'll be fun. Yay. Alrighty, that's it for vacancies, so moving on to our resolutions. You all got the resolutions yesterday, so the first one under new business resolutions is the resolution for feedback and approved technology objectives for FY26. So I'm going to yield to the author and our co-author, Senator Maba and Senator Maega, if they wanna talk about this resolution.
In summary, this was just to say that we have met with different areas of the IT solutions. We have shown our concern, made some suggestion, and also I found out a bit more about where our tech goes, and basically that's it's nothing too vague or too deep to talk about.
Yeah, we also attached the tech fit objectives where you can find all the suggestions from students from the past tech fit committees and this year's tech fit committees as well.
Are there any discussion points or any questions on this resolution? This is just something that the technology fee, I believe, is just required to do every year. So are there any comments or questions? Oh, Senator Ide?
How long has the technology fee had to do objectives like this for?
I would yield to Brian.
If I can answer and then you can add on, I don't think technology fee is mandated to do fee objectives, it's just been a practice that they've followed.
Yeah. Any questions or anything about the resolution itself? If there's no proposed amendments or anything, we could move on this resolution today. We can do it next week. Alrighty, sorry, we'll do it next week. Alrighty, moving on to old business for next week. Alrighty, the next resolution is the resolution to recognize the efforts of CIS, so Computer Information Science, faculty and staff resolution. I'll yield to the same two folks, if they wanna speak on this resolution.
This is just a resolution to recognize the effort that has been put together by the CIS department, because there's a lot that has been going on during the semester with faculty retiring, some being on sabbatical, and just classes, uncertainty of classes being offered. And so we do appreciate what they have done to allow us to be able to take classes this semester, and we're just wanting to thank them for that. So that's the overall idea of the resolution.
I just wanna add that we also wanted to thank them for the clear communication they've been maintaining with students.
Are there any questions or discussion points on this resolution? Senator Riggle?
In addition to them having to deal with their like staffing issues, while that's been going on, they're still like trying to roll out new 1 to 2 credit courses that their students are asking for, alongside all this. So not only are they struggling with staffing, but they're also managing to continue creating their class list for students on specific topics that were requested by students.
Thank you. Any other points or anything? Alrighty, seeing none, this resolution is being moved to old business next week. And then the next resolution is resolution to increase graduate assistant stipend. And I will yield to Senator Maega and Senator Reyes if they want to talk on this resolution.
Yes, so this resolution is to recommend an increase in the graduate assistant stipend, which is currently $10,000. And we are recommending an increase from $10K to $11.2K. GAs play a vital role in our university. They teach, they do research, and they also support administrations as well. And with the current cost of living and inflation and everything going on, we want to recognize that they do a lot, and we want to give them fair wage as well. And this has been ongoing since 2019. It was brought to Senate, was also brought to Student United, and we are bringing it back again. We're not forcing the university to increase the wage right now, but we just want to recommend them to set this as a priority for upcoming years. And they also have a 3-year review of the GA. President Norola, can you please correct the 3-year review?
Sorry, say that question again?
3-year review that they have, the review they have
3 years.
every 3 years. Yes, they also have that every 3 years, so we want them to have that as a priority for upcoming year. I'm gonna yield to the second to.
I was gonna say, I think Senator Meyer, she covered most of it, like yield redundancy, basically.
Perfect. Any questions on this resolution or any discussion points? Sweet, seeing none, we will move this into old business for next week. Alrighty, our next resolution on the docket is the resolution for campus response to ICE-related activity. Choose the first and second. I think it's Senator Reyes and then Senator Ide, so I'll leave it to Senator Reyes first.
Yeah, we mentioned this during before the Senate meeting, but first I want to say thank you to President Narala for really helping me structure this and helping me get at specifics. But mainly this resolution, I think it does a couple things. One, I think is the most important thing is educate. I like this one. Educate students on campus about like how to respond to this kind of stuff. I mentioned further down in the resolution, it talks about the difference between administrative like warrant and a judicial warrant and how one's issued by ICE and is not like legally binding. The other one is signed by the judge, which is legally binding, that allows them to enter private spaces on campus. So it's really educating our students on what their rights are, Fourth, Fifth Amendment rights, and like what freedom they have within our institution, but also, sorry, my thing won't load, so I can't pull it up. But another big thing that it discusses is just asking the university to take actions to, one, reaffirm its policy. Thank you. To reaffirm its policy that it is here to like protect the students. It is here to bar ICE from entering any non-public spaces without judicial warrants. And also further on, it asks to create a work group to identify legal logistical resources, helping students who may be detained by ICE or a threat or have their visa revoked, and what steps they can take to continue their educational journey here in Mankato. It's a little rambly, but that's kind of the gist of the resolution. And I'll yield to Senator Ide if anything else that they might need to.
Yes, so yield to redundancy for most of what Senator Reyes said, but I'd like to also mention that the main point of this resolution is to kind of for education on the rights that a lot of these international students have. And we just want to try to make sure that everybody is educated on the rights that they have, because those are rights that are guaranteed for them, and just them being able to know and ensure that the rights that they have are the rights that they are able to use is very important. I posted it in Teams for anyone who's curious, but I think about there's something currently offered in the Kearney International Center as like a little note card for constitutional rights and information about that, and I think it'd be really helpful to like try to have everyone who is an international student have that card, just so they know on hand and at all times kind of what they are entitled to per their rights. That's not something specifically mentioned in the resolution, but that's something that like we had in mind for one of the resolutions.
Any questions or proposals, Senator Livingston?
I just want to clarify that my point of opposition last week was regarding the divestment proposal. I wanted to echo what I said in committee, is that I really do appreciate the work of Senator Reyes and President Narala about this resolution, really focusing on practical solutions, like having informational educational initiatives, I think will go a long way. I think their original proposal last week, I think they're heading in the right direction. I think it just needed tweaks. I think it did just that, and I do intend on supporting this legislation.
Point of clarification, so we're not like trying to bar federal agencies with like actual judicial warrants from entering properties?
Legally, if they have a warrant signed by a judge, then they can access private spaces, but like administrative things that are like issued by ICE is not legally binding for them to enter private spaces. So like just like having people aware of the differences between the two is super beneficial, but we're not gonna like act unlawfully, because I mean, can't necessarily. Yeah.
President Naralla.
And then just to clarify, it is standard university policy that without the consent of a resident or a warrant signed by a judge, authorities aren't allowed inside residential halls or private spaces.
Other questions, comments? Senator Knauer?
Just a point of clarification, what would the CSU count as like a private area? Or like what, okay, gotcha.
CSU is open to the public, it's a public building. So are all the other academic buildings, any space besides the residential halls are open to the public. So they don't need a warrant or anything for public areas. Senator Zomer?
What about like classrooms? So if it's
Public.
I believe office spaces would be private,
No. Joan says no.
so just residential halls?
Correct.
Alrighty, and if you have any other clarifying questions of different spaces, I'll direct you towards VP Jones at bowling tonight, thank you. So, no other questions or comments on this resolution, it'll be moved to old business for next week. And then our last resolution under new business is a resolution to increase intercollegiate athletics access to the general student body, which was put forward by Senator Ide and seconded by Senator Pringles, but he's on Zoom, so he'll probably just yield to redundancy.
Alright, so thank you all for reading the resolution and taking an understanding. This resolution is mostly just to ensure that with the continuous fee increases that we've given to the athletics fee and therefore the athletic departments, that they kind of just follow through with a lot of the things that they have said they are interested in increasing during the last meeting. Specifically, I'd like to focus on one of the lines talking about giving more support and just additional aid to like the student groups that are not limited to, but like the cheer team, the dance team, and the math machine. I'm not trying to, with this resolution, I'm not insinuating that there is not support to these groups. I understand that as they are university affiliated and that they are getting aid and they are receiving help from the athletics group. I don't wanna mislead anyone or try to say that they're not, just to clarify that. And additionally, I'm going to send this resolution to current members of the athletic advisory team just to ensure that we're all notified and we're all understanding about what this is. And then additionally, there's been a little bit of confusion on the tech fee objectives. These aren't, we're going to be using the tech fee objectives sort of just to like view and to kind of create a framework for what this would be. They're not going to have to follow like their form of the tech fee objectives. Let's say it would be called the athletic objectives. They wouldn't be forced to follow that to a T, or they're not going to have to develop all these different objectives. It's just kind of like a general guideline of what they're looking forward to do. I understand that there's a lot going on in the athletics department and it's not, you can't force them to do anything. We can just give recommendations as the student government. So that is sort of the purpose of this resolution. I yield my time. Any questions?
I don't think Senator Pringles has anything. So if there's any questions, oh my gosh. Senator Livingston.
I'll echo what I said in committee again. Basically, even though I did support what athletics brought during the budget meeting, alongside that, I do recognize there are legitimate concerns that need to be addressed regarding transparency and fairness. And I refer to Senator Leon on this one, as she's facing, she's in a group that, they pay into the system, but they don't reap the benefits of that system. And so we want to make sure where there is fairness and there is transparency. I think this resolution is a step in the right direction.
Senator Riggle?
I personally believe that before this resolution is sent to the Athletics Fee Advisory Committee, they should definitely have some amendments to the wording of the resolution. Just because like looking through the resolved sections, it really does make it look like we're trying to force the athletics department to do something. And so I think it should be reword it in a way where it says like we ask the athletics advisory committee to do this thing to like do another thing. So it should just be like more specific, because as you said, we can't tell departments what to do, but in the like text of the resolution, we are telling departments what to do. So I just think there should definitely be some, like, look over it again and make some amendments before you send it out to anybody for like, to see if it's okay.
To add to that for just some information for everyone, if there are amendments that you all think that should be made to like any of the resolutions that have been brought up, please talk to either the author or the co-author to work on those amendments, and then those amendments can be made officially to the Senate next week. So just, yeah, send amendments to the author and co-author's way with reasoning. Yeah. Senator Karki.
To redundancy word for word to Senator Riggle.
Senator Zelmer.
Also yield redundancy for Riggle, and then also, like maybe better explain for the third be it resolved, what it would mean for athletics to recognize these certain groups. Because recognize is kind of a generic statement where it could be an Instagram post or if they're fully supporting. Thank you.
Any other comments, suggestions, or questions? Senator Ide.
Yeah, I'm completely open to all those amendments. There was just some small like verbiage changes that need to be done, and I'm fine with that. I understand that there's just some small clarification.
Any other comments? No? Great. So this will be put on the agenda for old business next week. Alrighty, moving through new business is done. So old business, we have the proposed amendment to the constitutional bylaws brought forth by the Constitution Commission. And we do have our chair of the Constitution Commission here, Senator Maba, if there's anything else you want to speak on for that. If not.
No, unless there is a question.
Okay.
Although we will make some adjustments to just show the current number of members that were in all those committees and what we are amending it to, because that seems to be a little bit of confusion with that.
Yeah, and then we can ask our lovely friend David Coward to send it, but he's not here today, so we can just ask him to send that to the Senate so you can all have that full version. Other than that, are there any other last points of discussion or questions on this resolution? Senator Karki.
Given that we have had significant discussion in the committee, I would like to motion to call to question.
Second.
Alright, the question has been called. Yeah, alrighty, is there any dissent to the call to question? No. Alrighty, seeing none, we are going to just move into a vote either by hand or placard, and the people on Zoom either vote yes or no or abstain to this resolution. All those in favor, just raise your placard or your hand, whatever you have in front of you. Alrighty, any opposed, same motion. And then any abstentions? Alrighty. Alrighty, so this resolution has passed unanimously, so 26-0 since yeah. So yay, congratulations. Oh, alrighty, so moving on. Okay, we're gonna do our officer reports really quickly. So President Nurala.
I'm gonna do this real quick. I know folks have been asking questions about student government statements, about everything that's been going on. I'll just tell you, we'll wait for a couple more days and then we'll make an announcement, and it'll be a really interesting announcement. The Students United Board is meeting up this weekend, and I'll be able to touch base with all of the 7 student body presidents. I am meeting with President Inch tomorrow to talk about all of the resolutions that you guys just discussed and share it with him, but also talk about university responses. I do wanna highlight an email has been sent out to all of you about the HLC Student Opinion Survey. I would like all of you to take 5 minutes right after Senate to fill out the survey and let everyone know about the survey as well. It should be on your email boxes. The other information that I wanna share is we're hosting a teach-in session about Know Your Rights session, which will be organized in collaboration with the Dean of Global Education, the Director of Carney International Center. There's a couple professors, and there's also a lawyer from ACLU that's coming in. The lawyer from ACLU has also agreed to stay back after the open panel session to answer one-on-one student questions and meet with them one-on-one. So if you have free time from 11 a.m. to noon, or if you wanna stop by later on, please write down your name. I'm gonna send out the sign up sheet, and then get the word out. We've posted information about this on our Instagram stories.
Already.
Oh, one other thing. I also would like to take just a couple seconds to wish our beloved speaker a happy birthday. I believe the best gift for the speaker would be that all of you win this trophy that's right in front of us tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for President Narala? Senator Ide?
Can we motion a birthday song for the speaker?
No. I will make you use your veto. Alrighty. Any other questions for President Narala? Great, seeing none. Vice President Jay, if you have anything.
A couple quick things for everyone to put on their calendar. Next week is the inauguration of the 93rd Student Government in the Hearth Lounge. So that will be happening right after Senate. Senate will be really quick, and then that will be happening. Everyone, please attend. And all of you that got elected, you need to be there as well. And then April 30th is our end of the year banquet. Free supper for everyone. It's pretty much just like a big party that is going to be in the Johnson Alumni Room this year. And we will also head there after Senate. It'll be super quick. There are a lot of awards that are handed out, a lot of recognition. There's some really fun awards. So we'll be reminding you guys up until then, when that is.
Alrighty. Any questions for VPJ? Senator Riggle?
Is there a dress code for the inauguration?
I mean, business casual, but whatever makes you happy.
Senator Ide?
Should those who are not currently in the Senate but got voted in also show up? Like, yeah, okay, I just wanna make sure.
Yep.
Any other questions? Alrighty, seeing none. Moving on to mine. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. So I don't really have anything. Yeah, just to keep it short and simple. So moving on. Senator reports. Most of them are written. The only one I didn't get a written one was from Senator Mpanga. Do you wanna send in a written one?
Yeah, I was sending you.
Perfect. Perfect, so Senator Mpanga will send in a written one. Alrighty, so then moving into announcements, are there any announcements? Senator Livingston.
I'd like to extend an apology to the Senate regarding my remarks directed towards Master Change during our last meeting. I've also extended apology to the organization directly. In hindsight, I recognize that my reaction and words were inappropriate and did not reflect the standards of respect and professionalism that this body deserves. My response was neither rational nor constructive in fostering understanding between stakeholders, and I take full responsibility for both my actions and the impact they might have had. I recognize that how we engage in disagreement matters just as much as the issues themselves. I'm committed to learning from this experience and growing as someone who contributes more thoughtfully and respectfully in spaces like this one. I also ask that my reaction is not cloud or define your judgment as you consider the resolution as it deserves to be given fair consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? John?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Senate, for the past, 6 weeks have been absolutely busy for you all, and I appreciate your work. To let you know where things are in the process. So now that the election has happened, everybody will be sworn in next week. And so next week before the inauguration will be the last meeting of this Senate. The week after that is the meeting when the Speaker will be elected for the next Senate. And so that's kind of what happens here. So from here with your fees, I have prepared and almost done with the packet for all of the fees to go to Dr. Jones for review of the final recommendations and approved fees. He will then make a recommendation to President Inch. And from there, they go to the Board of Trustees for approval. We won't get final approval on that stuff likely until June is typically when that stuff comes in. And so know that that's where we are in the process. But as of right now, all of the fees that you have recommended, the amounts that were voted on yesterday will go to Dr. Jones for approval. I've got the printed out memo ready to go to him first thing tomorrow. So that's kind of where things are. As you are working on the resolutions and all of that kind of stuff, I understand that you're coming up on your last meeting and an opportunity to pass that. I encourage you to have some conversations over the next week with people impacted by those resolutions to get your questions answered. There are some of these resolutions, they catch people off guard sometimes a little bit, and you might just want to have some questions for them or want to know about the impacts of them, whether it's from an operational standpoint or a financial standpoint and that kind of stuff. So encourage you to seek us out if you have questions and let us know what we can do to help.
Thank you, John. Also, to kind of go back on what John was saying about the resolutions, just remember you all are representing like about 15,000 students, and some resolutions might not impact 15,000 students, so make sure that you're making decisions consciously and like mine that you are representing 15,000 students. And just because some resolutions or some like groups might have more voice or more like oomph to their presentations of things, also just keep in mind that there's 15,000 other students that you have to think about too. So any other announcements? Sam.
Howdy, y'all. I wanted to just take a second. April goes really fast, and you got finals coming up, graduations coming up, end of Senate's coming up, all this stuff's going on. But there's a really great thing that's celebrated in April, and that's Earth Week and Earth Day. But because of the stuff that MSU does, Maverick Adventures has expanded in the last few years into Earth Month. And so we're offering a lot of different stuff, and it's not just us, but we've collaborated with over 20 different groups across the community and campus to come up with over 20 different events across the whole month of April. So you're gonna see posters up there. Our website actually has a whole new Earth Month tab to it. So if you go to the Maverick Adventures website, you'll see it loud and clear. All the different events are there, and some of them are things that you can schedule and sign up for. We have a caving trip that's on the docket, and there's still some spots open in it. We also are doing some stuff to Jeffers Petroglyph. There's opportunities to impact the campus, the beautification of our campus, but also some opportunities to impact the community as well. So look into Earth Month activities. We're gonna be tabling down in Mav Ave a lot, so you'll see myself and Madison. And then there's a whole slew of activities that are gonna go all the way to the last day in April. Stand for questions.
Any questions? Alrighty, seeing none. Thank you, Sam. Oh, yeah, okay. Any other announcements? No. Alrighty, going into final roll call.
Motion to suspend final roll call?
No, we have to procedurally. So, Senator Leon, Senator Franson,
Present.
Senator Miucci, Senator Pregnant is Zoom, Senator Emke is Zoom, Senator Ponte, Senator Bugney, Senator Reyes, Senator Maega,
Here.
Senator Thapa, Senator Mpanga,
Here.
Senator Lee, Senator Dietrich, Senator Smith, Senator Green, Senator Johnson, Senator Moore, Senator Maba,
Present.
Senator Knauer, Senator Karki,
Here.
Senator Livingston,
Here.
Senator Riggle,
Here.
Senator Colleran, Senator Selmer,
Present.
Senator Ide, Senator Hillstead,
Present.
Senator Isaac.
Present.
I'm here, President Rala,
Present.
Vice President Jay is on Zoom, so we are adjourned at 5:01 PM.
John, hey John, wanna share the format for bowling? We're gonna do it downstairs.
We can do that real quick. So folks, just so you know how bowling works, usually we get down there and warm up for a little bit. But then what we do is everybody will bowl one game. For all the staff who are bowling, we drop the highest and the lowest